I've wanted to do a tier ranking video for like forever, especially when everybody started doing it, but I did not know exactly what I was going to focus on, so I didn't do it when everybody else was doing it. So I'm here, very late to the party, but I have found an actual topic I could focus on that I actually really enjoy, which is basically ranking classics, starting with Jane Austen books, because I absolutely adore Jane Austen. She's one of my favorite authors. I love what she has to say about class, about wealth, about matrimony, everything with the sarcastic wit and edge and brilliance that is her writing. And of course, there is also the fact that nobody can dispute the fact that Jane Austen writes about a lot of fuckboys. Like, you sometimes I wonder, I'm like, yo, Janie, what is like, which fuckboy, messed with the heart of somebody that you know? Because there's just a way in which she writes them that I'm just like, this has gone personal. This is beyond the fact that the regent Prince George was an absolute cad. It goes beyond that. It's just, there's this personal way in which she writes it that just delights my heart. So I decided to rank all of Jane Austen's fuckboys because that is the content you didn't know you needed. Hello, if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Noria. I talk about books and other things that interest me. So that can be anything from Asian dramas to movies to TV shows, etc., etc. But I'm a bookworm, very proud of it, and a big time nerd. So before we start, I would like to state that, yeah, spoiler alert, because I would be talking about the plot of the stories. That's the only way we can talk about just how much of a fuckboy these fuckboys are. So if you're still like, oh, I don't want to see any spoilers, although technically these books were written in Regency era, so it's been a long ass time. Initially, I was like, oh, I could just do English words, but I decided to just change things up. I'm Nigerian. Nigeria has over 300 tribes, different languages, etc., etc. So these are basically insults across different Nigerian languages. I limited myself to 5 because I didn't want to do more than 5. But we'll start with the first level, which is Nten. Nten is an ethic word, which basically means absolute total dumbass. So yeah, complete dumbass. I think that is very self-explanatory because some people are absolute dumbasses. Next, we have alainitiju. Now, this is Yoruba, which you call an absolute shameless person. Like, there's something about other languages other than English, because I think English, you lose a lot of the force, the efficacy of those words when it's translated. Like shameless, you can be like shameless, but when someone calls you alainitiju, it means like you are shameless to the core of your being. So shameless that everybody should utterly stay away from you because your shamelessness is disgusting to that point. Some people don't care though, just like every shameless person, they're like, yeah, I'm going to walk that shit and I'm going to hold it with pride. But alainitiju, absolute total complete shamelessness. The next level is Uziwa, which is an Oza word. Oza is a tribe in like among the Agbo group in Delta State, and it basically means crazy ones. Like, I'm actually being nice. It actually means you decrease, you don't finish. So basically, the person that has absolutely lost their marbles and gone bonkers. Because when you consider what it is that they have done, you're like, there is absolutely no sane person that would do this thing, you piece of shit, absolute crazy bonkers idiot. That's Uziwa for you. Next, there is Shege Dam Baruba, which is Awusa for you bastard. Yes, like literally means bastard. Absolutely self-explanatory. There's really nothing I need to say more than that, other than, yeah, fucking asshole, absolute bastard. And then there's the final tier. The final tier is Anwofia, which is Igbo for wild animal. Basically, the self-destructive pieces of shit that would ruin your life. Like, they just run wild, taking down and destroying everything in their path. Like I said, absolute fucking garbage. So Anwofia is the wild animal. So you've gotten an explanation of all the tiers. Let's get started ranking them. We will start with the very first person on our list, which this guy right here is Captain Frederick. Tilney from Nottingham Abbey. I absolutely despise this dude. He is very, the regular fuckboy, the one that is charming, that thinks that you both are in an agreement. Sure, the person is flirting with, whose chances and life is about to ruin, is an engaged woman. But as far as it's concerned, you know that there is no future. You know that there's absolutely no way in which you can ever have an actual relationship. If you actually think otherwise, you're the dumbass. So, what to rank him? Am I going to rank him as intin in that is he a dumbass? Not really. Alainitiju uziwa. Shege dambaruba. Is he a nuofia? I would categorize him as being shameless. He's not crazy because he actually does have his wits. It's just absolutely shameless. And the way in which things ended with Isabella Thorpe and him, like, he didn't give a shit. So yes, Alaini Tuju for Captain Frederick Tilney. Next up is fucking Frank Churchill, right? And see, that's the thing. Frank Churchill is attentive and funny and witty, and we cannot just dispute the fact that he did lead Emma on a ride. Yes, sure, you're in love with Jane Fairfax. Yes, you have to pretend so that your aunt does not find out and disown you, but Emma deserved better. And I definitely think I am, right, with Mr. Knightley in the fact that this piece of shit garbage was forgiven so quickly. Like, I'm pissed. I am utterly pissed. Sure, Emma definitely learned and grew from that, encounter, and did consider that she might have been in love briefly, but it does not take away from the fact that he is a piece of shit garbage man. Now, is he crazy or is he shameless? Is he crazy or is he shameless? Would I say he did Chris or is he shameless? Honestly, I think I would still put him right beside Frederick here in Alaini Tiju because he is shameless. Like the way in which things ended, like the minute his aunt died, it was like, oh, oops, finally, thank God I can marry the woman I'm in love with. Oh, by the way, Emma, you see, I was just playing with you and I thought you knew I was playing with you. And I'm certain everybody this was deceived and thought that we were a thing, but I know you were not interested in me. And so, you know what the fuck that shit? I just remember the stupid ass letter I wrote Emma, and I'm like, nope, Uziwa, because it is crazy. It is stupid, it is craziness, it is absolute loconess that would have this piece of shit garbage write that letter and be all like, well, I'm certain that you're not hurt because I sensed that you would not fall in love with me. You piece of shit garbage. Uziwa. It's crazy. Okay. Next is fucking. Oh God, I hate this boy. It's George Wickham, people. George Wickham. Absolute cad, piece of shit, gold digging trash, who was seducing a young girl not because he loved her, but because he wanted to take her fortune. And when he was cut off, he went away. And let's not forget the lies he told Lizzie, and then how he ended up running away with Lydia. And I'm just over here like, Lizzie should have kicked this piece of shit in the balls. Like, think about it. It just if not for Darcy, if not for the love of my life, Fitzwilliam Darcy, the fact that George Wickham had to be bribed to marry a girl who he ran away with. Sure, the girl was a flirt too, but it doesn't change anything. I would say he's a bastard, right? It's not a wild animal. It's not an orphia. No, there's definitely someone that would fit that to a T. But Shegedam Baruba, yes. Piece of shit, garbage, bastard. Next up is Henry Crawford from Mansfield Park. Henry Crawford, who lived for flirting with the emotions of all the young girls. Like when he was coming to Mansfield Park, we already knew that was what he was planning. He had no intention of getting married. But see, that's the case. He was flirting with the younger sister, and then he decided to flirt with the sister that was engaged and nearly ruined their engagement, by the way. And then decided to leave because, you know what, it was all fun and games. And then decided that, you know what, Fanny Price, because Fanny knew him for what he was and could see him for what he was, and she refused to be moved by his charms, decided that I am going to make a conquest of Fanny Price. And then, he ended up falling in love, which was not a bad thing because Fanny Price is lovable, even though she is very, very quiet and does not have a backbone, but we understand the reason for that. But after he decided that he was going to get Fanny to fall in love with him, for him to be such a piece of shit garbage man, to be all like, okay, do you know what, Fanny, I'm working on it and I'm going to get her to fall in love with me, but she's not really responding well enough. And then he sees the challenge in Mariah and he's like, yo, sure, Mariah is married, but it's all fun and games. I'm going to get her to like me again. How dare she ignore me because I ignored her and walk away? And then he decided he's going to get her to fall in love with him and basically wrecked her marriage and refused to marry her at a time when she would face all the shame and he would not. So I know some people like Henry Crawford. I know some people wanted Fanny to end up with Henry Crawford. But see, Henry is fucking an warfare because he's a garbage man. He's a wild animal, destroying everything in his path, ruining everything. And at the end, did he get punished? No, it was all like, yeah, he's going to meet another girl, he's going to ruin her life again, and that would be it. I fucking hate you. Hate you. God. I hate him. I hate him. Okay. Next up is this boy over here. This is John Thorpe. So Isabella Thorpe's brother, also in Northanger Abbey. Stupid idiot, very narcissistic, loved to hear himself talk, very forceful. And let's not forget all the amount of times he tried to ruin Catherine's relationship, budding romance with Henry. We hate him, but he's not an warfare. He's definitely not Shege Dambaruba because he's not that much of an asshole yet. Is he shameless? No. I think I'll put him as in 10 because he's a dumbass. He and his sister are absolute dumbasses. For you not to do your research with regards exactly how rich the Morlands are, it takes a certain level of dumbassery for you to fall for that. Next is this guy's face. John fucking Willoughby. John piece of shit Willoughby. John absolutely disgusting Willoughby. I hate him. Okay. Poor Marianne. Okay, let's look at this, right? First, he decided to seduce an underage girl, and then left her pregnant without any reason. Okay, sure. Let's just say he did not know that she was pregnant, but he left her alone, somewhere secluded. Told her, "Oh, don't worry, I'm going to send you a note with regards where I am," and never did, and just absolutely forgot her. Then he found Marianne. Sure, he loved her, but when it was that the truth of what he had done was revealed, did he take responsibility for the underage girl he impregnated? No. He decided to run away to London to get himself a rich heiress. And then when it was that when Marianne and Eleanor discovered, he decided, right, that, okay, do you know what? I want money because, of course, we know that he has all those expenses hanging on his head, so he doesn't have the money. And he's like, okay, he needs money. He's going to marry. He's going to break Marianne's heart. And when he finds out that Marianne is sick, he comes back. Does this piece of shit ever take responsibility for any of his action? No. He blames the underage girl. He's like, please, she was a flirt. So kind of like, we both wanted it, right? He decides to blame his wife. In fact, he decides to insult his wife. I'm just like, yo, this guy is just garbage to the very end. All that pang that Eleanor was feeling from him, I'm like, girl, your heart is too fucking soft. This piece of shit garbage does not deserve anything from you. No form of sympathy whatsoever. Because it's trash. Warfare, wild animal. Wild animal. Okay. Next, I am going to be breaking my rule a bit because I know I said fuck boys and this is definitely not a fuck boy because this is Lady Susan. Yes, Lady Susan from Jane Austen's Lady Susan, which we all know was her first novel, an epistolary. She never did publish it for different reasons. Yes, there are speculations, but none of us can talk to the dead, so I'm certain that none of us actually know the reason why Jane Austen, did not publish this book. Basically, Lady Susan makes this list because she is fuckboy personified, except for the fact that she's a woman. So I will put her as an honorary fuckboy because it takes a certain level for you to, one, marry for wealth, spend all your husband's money, be an absolute unapologetic flirt, be destroying and wrecking people's marriages, love the fact that you have all these men on a string, and then, there's a possibility that you could possibly marry whoever you wanted. Like, she's just ruining people's marriages and careers and chances all over the place, and she does not give a shit. Yeah, she's an absolute fuckboy. It's her job to ruin everything and everybody. And let's not forget the fact that she's quite manipulative as well. So my question is, Would I put her as shameless? Because in a way, she is absolutely shameless. Lady Susan has no shame, but there is just because of course she's not abandoning people, she's not like absolutely ruining people's lives. Technically, yes, she's a participant because there is a certain marriage that she wrecked, but was it all her? No, the husband also has certain responsibilities because he was the one that took the vows. So yeah. Lady Susan is either annual fear or Allah in Ituju. But Allah in Ituju would imply that she did not do as much damage, and this woman kind of did. So I would put her as annual fear because she's a wild woman. She's a wild person wrecking everything along the way because she wants to get what she wants. But she's the only annual fair on this list that I absolutely adore. So if that is any consolation. Next up is Reginald da Corsi, also from Lazy Susan. The da Corsi hair, who is a flirt and who thought that, oh, he had what it took to handle a coquette like Lady Susan, only for him to realize that, oh boy, levels past levels. So, like, he thought he was delusional enough to think that it could be entertained by her, only for him to fall absolutely in love with her. Let's be real. If he had not run into Mrs. Marrowin, who then finally opened his eyes, he would just be trapped to the very end. So I would say it's an absolute intent. It's a dumbass. It's a dumbass. It's a dumbass who thought, and I'm like, dude, you thought. Next up is Sir Edward Denham from Sanditon. Now, I'm still a bit pissed because Sanditon is one of the two incomplete stories that Jane Austen never got a chance to finish. And I would have loved to say exactly how she would have told the story, but this dumbass thought, right, that he's going to seduce a young woman. And the only reason he wanted to do that was because there was the chance that the aunt she was living in could leave her well to her. And he was like, oh, he was going to do that because he considered her as competition, which we all know is the most dumbass move. Like, dude, she doesn't even want the wealth, you dumbass. But anyway, we never really got the story complete. So I don't know if it would ever reach annual fair status or Chegedan Boroba status or even Uziwa. Actually, I think I would just put him as crazy because it's absolutely crazy for you to think like this is a poor, impoverished girl and you're going to set out to seduce her because you feel like, oh, there's a possibility and a chance that she would get the wealth that you felt was due to you. Isn't that crazy? Next is Tom Musgraves from The Watson, which is the second incomplete story that Jane Austen never got a chance to finish. And the only glimpse we got of him, he was flirting with the Watson girls, right? And of course, Emma had been warned by her older sister that it was an absolute unapologetic flirt. And you could see that the only reason why he was intrigued by Emma Watson was because of the fact that she just would not give him the time of day. And I know I just said Emma Watson, not the Emma Watson, the actress. There's an Emma Watson in Watson by Jane Austen. So we know that the only reason why he was in any way interested is because she was not interested in him and his ego was bruised. And then I can never forget when Margaret Watson returned home and he came to visit, and this dude basically pulled the ultimate fuckboy move whereby he was like, oh, don't worry, I will show up in a couple of weeks. And he never did. I really honestly wish that this had been a completed story because I'm actually intrigued. So let me see. Where would I put him in? Is he an Uziwa or is he an Alaini Tiju? Is he an intent? It's not a dumbass. It's actually pretty smart. It's just very annoying. So I think I'll put him as Uziwa because it's crazy. It's crazy. The audacity. And we have finally the last fuckboy on the list is William Elliot of Persuasion. Now, we know William Elliot, you know, the boy that one married a very rich woman for her money, considered the baronetcy something that was useless. He was willing to even sell it for like, what, £5-10. He was absolutely rude. And let's not forget the fact that he was a terrible friend and basically led to the ruination of Mr. Smith. But see, the reason why he's a fuckboy is the fact that he saw an Elliot. He was interested in an Elliot. Sure, he did not know that Anne's heart belonged to Captain Wentworth, but he still pursued her with that intention. And for one reason, yes, he kind of liked her, but primarily because he did not want to lose the baronetcy, and he wanted to keep Sir William Elliot, you know, unmarried. And it takes a certain level of fuckboyery for you to be able to juggle both, because the fact that Mrs. Clay was able to live with him means that he must have had an agreement with her, right? And sure, we did get that hint of seeing him talking with her, and that when he was meant to be out of town, and the lie that followed as a result of it. But he's always been trash, right? He's always been trash. We know that he was playing a long game, and he was probably juggling both women, just a case of because it was just too easy, it's too convenient. Shortly after it was that Anne married Wentworth, boom, he was with Mrs. Clay, taking Mrs. Clay away. Like, he had to have established a relationship with her for that to happen. So yes, definitely a fuckboy. But is he a bastard? Is he comparable to George Wickham? No. He's just shameless. So I'll put him as Allah in Itiju, because for you to go back to a family where you had already insulted them to everybody else, and then decided that, okay, yes, you're going to marry the daughter in order to keep the title, and just in case things don't go well with the daughter, you're going to bring the gold-digging woman that is with the family and take her away so she doesn't take away your title. I'm just like, yeah. There's a certain level of shamelessness that defines this piece of shit garbage man. So yeah, that is my ranking of Jane Austen's fuckboys. Let me know if it is that you agree with my ranking. Let me know if you think that some names should be shifted around. Drop your thoughts and comments. And I do have more plans for these rankings planned in the future. But if you like this video, do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Check out my other videos. Subscribe if you want to, and if you do decide to subscribe, please click on that notification bell. So after you hit subscribe, click on that bell again so you can have all notifications turned on so you don't miss any of my new videos. I make new videos every Wednesdays and Sundays at 2 p.m. EST. Yes, that is 2 p.m. EST. And I'll see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books, love yourself. Bye.